Okay, on to the next Skip the Line reaction, and this is Paolo Nutini, Iron Sky. I'm not entirely sure if we've reacted to Paolo Nutini before. It sounds super familiar. I know of the artist, obviously, but I don't know if we've ever reacted to him. Okay, this is the Skip the Line reaction from Frank Warner. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm catching up all the Skip the Line reactions from last week, so the booking form will not open until these ones are done. My goal is to have them all caught up. There's not a terrible amount of them, but my goal is to have them all caught up by tomorrow, but Thursday at the latest. But I'm aiming for tomorrow. The message over here is this is for the squad. Quite simple, as Frank always usually does, always requesting stuff for the squad. Paolo Nutini, Iron Sky. Never heard this before. Let's rock and roll. Let's go.
We are proud individuals living for the city, but the flame couldn't go much higher. We find God and religions to paint us with salvation, but nobody can give you the power to rise over love, over hate. Through this iron sky, this fast to becoming all mine. Over fear and into freedom.
Wait a second, I want to just take that back over there because I want us to listen to what he was saying there.
Nobody can give you the power to rise over love, over hate. Through this iron sky, this fast to becoming all mine. Over fear and into freedom. Oh, that light left dripping down the wall.
I love his voice and I'm loving this instrument. I think his voice is absolutely spectacular, but for some odd reason, I'm not entirely sure, but for some odd reason this is sounding somewhat political. Specifically when he says like no one can give you the power over love, over fear. Right? Because yes, we'll look to religion for our salvation, but we can only control so many things in our existence, right? There are still these sort of systematic structures that rule over us, and they tend to rule over us with fear, as you can see. Most predominantly now, literally every single news agency that are shills for the administration that's currently in power, right? They've become the Praetorian Guard for the administration. And regardless of what administration it is, you're always going to have the legacy media that's going to purport the bullshit. And I think the greatest deception that they've ever done is to actually give you that the whole narrative that blue is better than red, or the red is better than blue. You know, they keep you completely deluded into these colors of like, oh, conservatives and liberals and this side and that side and the hateful side and that side, and they use that just to divide and conquer, essentially, right? They let you play those stupid little games between each other while the billionaires sort of cut the pie their own way. The billionaires and the political elites, you know, let the paupers debates on what's right and what's wrong. We'll fucking know what's right. We'll fucking know what's wrong. We know what is right and wrong. None of the experts and the science, the new science that's come out in today's day and age, more specifically, is going to should actually change that. You know what is right and what is wrong. You know what is the difference between man and a woman. You know what is the difference between right and wrong, right? And what they're trying to do is they're trying to tell you, it's like, and I like the fact that he's saying like the iron sky, because it does feel like it's an iron sky. It feels like you're actually encased in this world that is being controlled by political elites that are trying to divide people on cultural grounds and on many other and racial grounds and a whole bunch of other things. And the reason why they'll chase these ridiculous narratives and this made up bullshit and this made up science and all that kind of crap is because they've lost the working class vote. None of those people believe it themselves. All they're trying to do is they're trying to pander to the only people that are willing to fucking vote for them, right? And they've successfully managed to pigeonhole all of this. They've successfully managed to put people on the right and left side of this fucking thing. And everyone down here at the bottom is all fighting while these people are sitting there completely and utterly distracted. Sorry, completely and utterly doing whatever they want, while you completely and utterly distracted down here fighting and fighting with each other over bullshit, over nothing, absolute garbage, right? They don't want you to agree to disagree. They want you to hate the other person on the other side, because that is how they can control, right? That is how you can give them more power, because you generate the fear in the one sphere and you tell them, oh no, if we don't do this, right, those people are going to take away your democracy, right? It's crazy to actually see a political elite that tells you that in order to save democracy, you have to shut out the other side and not allow them to vote and not allow them to speak and not allow them to have their position and not allow them to weigh in on super important topics like vaccines, like elections, like those kind of things. That's how you save democracy. Democracy is saved by suppressing an entire faction of the voting class in your country. That is how democracy is apparently saved, right? If that isn't fascist talk, I would I don't really know what is, right? And the crazy thing is all these people are spewing fascism. These people have not read a fucking book on fascism. They don't know what fascism means, right? Fascism means trying to fucking do exactly what they're doing to the very people. Democracy is allowing absolutely everybody to speak. Democracy is that no man is above each other. Liberty means that no man is above each other, right? It doesn't mean that the hierarchy, the people at the top talk down to you, right? It means that the people at the top are actually lesser than the people at the bottom, because the people at the bottom put them there. That is democracy. That is liberty, right? But we've changed up the system somewhat lately. So anyway, let's carry on.
Oh, that light left dripping down the wall of a dream that cannot breathe in this harsh reality. Mass confusion, spoon-fed to the blind.
See, this is
Earth
weird.
now to define our cold society from which we'll rise.
That we'll rise, we will rise over fear and into freedom, right? Is actually quite a powerful statement over there, because literally the world is being controlled by fear at the moment, and fear is very effective, right? If you want to control people, make them scared, and if you want to distract them and if you want to divert them away from a real story, make them scared. This is why the legacy media is literally just walking in lockstep with these globalists and these globalist elites, because there's an agenda over here. There's a system that they're trying to create where they can have complete authoritarian control of people. I kind of feel that they have screwed up to such an extent that now the chickens have come home to roost, and the only way that they can hold on to their power is actually to just turn to totalitarianism, because people are sick of it, right? There's a whole new conscience where people are like, fuck these politicians, they've done nothing for us, fuck them all, right? And we want them out of power. We're going to shake up the system. We're going to put someone like a Donald Trump in the White House, who should have never gotten the keys to the White House, but we're going to put someone in the White House, not because he's a good politician, but because he's going to ruffle feathers, and it's about time we start ruffling the feathers of the political elite. That was the whole idea of putting or of giving the keys to a character like Donald Trump, essentially. But the problem with that is, we're tugging on the fabric of society, and we tug from one side and then we tug from the other side, and we're literally ripping the fabric of society in half. And at the end of the day, it's like, yes, it's either we're going to rise or we're going to fall, right? There's only one way. There's only one way. There's only two ways to this, right? It's either we rise and we stop these people, or we let these people do what they do, and it all falls, and it becomes like a pendulum. It will swing one way and for a couple of 100 years, and then eventually it might swing back, or it will swing back, because that's just how civilizations have been. That's how empires have risen. That's how empires have fallen. The moment corruption sets in, and the moment they try to suppress people, and the moment people start feeling it in their pockets and on their tables, the people eventually stand up, right? And the thing is that the deception that's currently being purported by the legacy media, who are once again the Praetorian Guard for the ruling administration, right, is actually unbelievably dishonest. I mean, you can actually see what's going on right now, right, where you saw that tragic accident that happened with that submersible, and then that issue with the Wagner Group, that the Wagner Group was doing this coup, a failed coup in Russia. Right? And yes, that was the story. That's what happened. I mean, that story ended after 36 hours. The Wagner coup story ended after 36 hours. And the submersible story ended when we found out that, unfortunately, that thing imploded and 5 people unfortunately lost their lives. It was a terrible, tragic thing. But then they just carried on ad nauseum. And just think about the timing. Think about the timing of this. Ad nauseum, when you've got someone like a Hunter Biden who pled guilty to tax evasion and pled guilty to crimes involving a weapon, essentially, right? And the media has been pushing. I have seen nothing else but the Wagner coup and the submersible, literally ad nauseum every hour of the day. They are short of telling you what the fucking bolt was made out of, what every single bolt was made out of in that submersible. They literally just strung this out, and they strung out the Wagner thing in Russia as well. They drag it and they drag it and they drag it, and all they're trying to do is just keep you distracted. Yes, those are stories. Tell the stories and move on, right? But what you don't see in the middle of all of that crap, the shit that you missed, was the fact that the son of the sitting president of the United States was involved in massive corruption deals with his father, right? Which obviously all politicians are fucking corrupt. So obviously that's going to be the case, right? And that not only was he involved in corruption deals with his father that his father actually knew about, right? He also committed federal crimes that any fucking one of you would have committed. You would have been put in prison, right? And he's getting a sweetheart deal, right? And you know what the Praetorian Guard does, right? The media, the legacy media, right? They'll do a 3-minute little segment in that, throw it out into the infosphere, right? And then flood the infosphere with absolute nonsensical garbage so that you don't find it, and that you always you're stuck with they keep you distracted on the shit that really doesn't matter. Yes, it was a failed coup in Russia. Cool. We got the details of that. Done. Finished. All right? Same thing with the submersible. Yes, it was a terrible thing. It imploded. CEO was terrible on the safety and blah, 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 blah. Done, finished. Right? But they don't. They just push it ad nauseum, ad nauseum, ad nauseum, ad nauseum. Russia, because we need to push this, because we need to keep you fearful, need to keep you fearful, need to keep you fearful, right? We need to keep you stuck onto this so that we are able to hold on to, we are able to justify, our actions with regards to that. And then the submersible is just a distraction story, and because they know in today's society, we tend to chase the next shiny thing, right? We put a shiny thing in front of us, like, oh shit, that story, right? That's a fascinating story, essentially. So the submersible was a little shiny toy that they were playing in your face after it happened for days. And then the same thing with the Wagner Group, right? Which again, another fascinating story of what's happening in Russia. But again, they knew, because we have now been programmed to chase the next shiny thing. That's what they do, right? To distract you, to make you fearful, so that you can sort of ignore the real shit that's happening in your own country. The real big fucking story, Watergate type shit, right? They're just burying. They're just burying under the surface, right? You got to go and dig for that, right? And not many people dig for those kind of things. Which this is what they're doing. But anyway, yeah, I've had my say. Let it just play out. It's just been sitting on me, saying like it's ridiculous. I mean, what's going on at the moment in the world with these political elites, and it's across the board. It's across the Western world. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's the people who are purporting to say that fascism is on the rise while being fascist themselves. It's something staggering.
You just got to hold on. You just got to hold
super famous Charlie Chaplin quote, speech. Beautiful Charlie Chaplin. If you haven't heard that before, I'd say go and research Charlie Chaplin most famous speech. This is one of the most beautiful speeches of his. You could feel the song was political straight off the onset.
The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people, and so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Let us use this power, let us all unite.
Beautiful song.
through this iron sky that's fast becoming alright. Over freedom.
Oh, he's delivering on this though.
Into freedom. Into freedom. From which we'll rise. Over love and over hate. Through this iron sky that's fast becoming alright. Over freedom. Into freedom.
It's crazy actually if you had to think about the legacy media at the moment. Just another thought of mine is the stories that they want you to pay attention to. This is the world we live in right now. If the legacy media is trying desperately, right, to get you to pay attention to a particular story, it's probably the story you shouldn't be paying attention to. You should probably look for the stories that they don't want you to pay attention to, and that's where the truth lies, right? Because these legacy medias that are doing that is that they love to absolutely push. When they are pushing a narrative and they're pushing an agenda at the moment, and I'm talking about CNN, Fox News, same story, right? Right, it's just what they do, right? But when they literally hit a story like a sledgehammer ad nauseum, never stopped, always, ask yourself, why are they doing that? Why are they consistently doing that? Right? Also, why are they consistently attacking one person and not the other? Right? You can see there's a massive imbalance in the reporting over here that they're supposed to be neutral about, that they're supposed to be journalists for, right? And you see massive imbalances in the stories. Huge imbalances. Like the massive focus on like a Ron DeSantis or the massive focus on like a Donald Trump, right? And almost no focus on the corruption that's happening in the current administration, right? Literally, it's just, you can just see it outweighs it entirely. Not that I care about any of these fucking politicians. I think they're all fucking snakes and liars, right? But the legacy media is there to scrub through, right, the stories and to actually bring everything to you fairly on both sides. But they don't do that, right? They don't do that. They do it so that, so that's why I say it's like when a media agency is trying to push a story on you ad nauseum, ask yourself, what are they trying to, what don't they want me to see, right? That's what you need to ask yourself. Why are they pushing this like that? Like, what is it that they don't want me to see? What am I missing over here? Because let me tell you, you are missing everything. And at the end of the day, when you watch the news now, you're misinformed, man. You're completely misinformed. They keep on going on about misinformation bullshit. Since the fucking pandemic, the legacy media has been nothing but misinformation. Fucking nothing but misinformation, right? It's all been, I promise you, it's like you think about these conspiracy theories and you're like, oh no, that's just conspiracy theories. But the crazy thing, that the alarming rate that conspiracy theories are coming true, I mean, they just seem to be spoiler alerts now. It's actually quite staggering. And that's what happens. That's what happens when the public has lost trust in, they've lost trust in everything. They lost trust in institutions that took decades to get the public's trust on, right? The public now don't trust anybody. They don't trust the medical institutions, the pharmaceutical institutions, the political institutions, the education institutions. They don't trust anything because of these political elites, and the media have eroded all of it. They've eroded all of it. So you can absolutely forgive people's skepticism because of how these people have comported themselves in the past couple of years. Great track. I've always loved political tracks because fuck the politicians, right? That's why I like political tracks, because fuck them, right? Because anybody who holds a politician as a fucking and lionizes a politician and treats them like a fucking celebrity is retarded, right? Fuck them. That's what I say. The politicians, I'm saying. Screw the politicians. Can't stand them. Will never stand them. And they're all in it for their own interests. And the moment they get their hands in, they grip a bit of power. it's all about their own interests and they don't care about the people, and that's the world we're living at the moment. So I couldn't care for not one of them, not Donald Trump, not Biden, not absolutely any one of them. I think they're all just absolute garbage. We have not a single politician with a moral fiber in his body in today's day and world. Anyway, I love you all. Please stay safe, please stay healthy. Catch you on the next one. Peace.